Hey everyone, welcome back. If you're new here, we explore different areas of leathercraft, and today we are going to bust some myths. That's right. We're going to look at a couple things that are commonly known, and we're going to look at what's really about them. And by the end of the video, you're going to learn about the biggest rivalry of ever, top grain, full grain being the best. We're going to look at genuine leather. Is it really quality leather? We're going to talk about leather grades. Is A the best? Is split leather really that bad? And then, is anything called leather actually leather? So, with that, let's dive right in and get started. Alright, first up in the battle of the titans is the myth. Top grain and full grain leather is always better. And the answer to that is maybe. Well, typically we assume it's the best. When it's produced well, it can be. But it highly depends on the tannery that it comes from. And as we've talked about previously, the tannery process that leads to the quality of leather that you have on your desk is actually made up of 5 key elements, each of them with variables. And so the leather that you've got that's a full grain from one tannery may be very different than a full grain from another. So for example, here we've got, a nice full grain quality piece of leather. We also have a nice top grain piece of leather that is more sanded with a consistent look and feel. Both great pieces of leather. We also may have a tannery, saying, hey, here's our top grain right here, and it may not be as great. So the answer to, is top grain and full grain always better? It can be if it comes from a good tannery. If it doesn't, then the answer is nope. You may have a full grain from a really poor tanning process, from a really poor hide, and it's not going to be as nice to use as something that can be sanded, or maybe even a suede may be better if the top grain is that bad of a tannery run. Tanneries, depending on who they are, may inflate the quality of their process and say, hey, we've got this great stuff. So that's why it's a maybe, because if it's from a good tannery, yep, probably going to be better in terms of the characteristics, the look and feel, if you're looking for a top grain. From another tannery, it may not. All right, number 2 is all genuine leather high quality. So the term genuine leather is used very loosely in a lot of ways, often to make leather that isn't so great sound great because they can't say it is great. So they'll call it genuine. And we talked about previously how genuine leather is literally any part of a natural leather hide. And so calling it genuine can be accurate. However, where that genuine piece is from can vary greatly in its characteristics, its perceived quality. And so that all depends on looking at it. Is it from a good piece of leather? Is it just from a piece of leather, and so it's genuine but poorly tanned? And that's where the variation lies. So as an example, we'll have 2 pieces of genuine leather here. This one is a really nice genuine leather. We got our grain pattern on top. Great to work with. And here's another piece made with genuine leather. This is patent. And on the underside is a genuine leather split where this patent surface has been applied to it. So this has genuine leather in it, yet it's going to be very different than this. And even we want to look at our suede, that's genuine leather as well. And so when someone says genuine, as long as it's real, that's the first start. The next thing to think about is what part of that leather hide has it come from? Like what layer was that genuine leather cut from? And then how is it tanned and finished? And so that's what gives the great variation into that. So is all genuine leather high quality? No. Can be, but not always. Next one, is anything A grade great leather? The answer to that is false. Not everything that is A grade is great leather. And as we talked about, The tanning process can vary a lot from tannery to tannery, and those grades are subjective. So a tannery in one place may say, hey, we're going to call, our best leather that we put out is our A grade. And so their A grade may be fine, maybe a little blemished, maybe some issues on it, but that's their best and they're calling it A. However, another tannery may produce really great leather and their A grade is phenomenal, smooth, consistent, very high quality, takes stamping and tooling well, etc. So it really depends on the tannery it's coming from and how much you could trust their grading system. So is anything A grade great? False. It depends on the tannery and their process used. Next up, number 4, split leather is all poor quality. Oftentimes we'll hear, oh, split, it's terrible, I don't want it, they're just covering up issues with it, with either dyes or paints or plastics. And in some cases that's true, but not all cases. For example, here's some split chap leather. And this is a really nice example of that. It's a quality split leather. And as we've seen, split leather just means that the leather has been split from the original hide. So that split where suede comes from is right in here. And as we could see, it's a nice, great piece of leather. It's a great piece of suede. So being split alone does not mean that it's bad. When it can become bad is when the leather is split because the top is so rough and unusable that they split it and then coat that top with a different type of color, paint, surface pattern, a surface texture to basically make that leather usable when it otherwise wouldn't have been usable at all. And as an example, we've got this leather here, which is a split leather, or it's got a texture on the top. So we have texture and paint applied. So underneath is leather, it's genuine, but the top has been altered to cover what was below. So what may have happened is that this leather had been cut from here, and the top part, was used as a top grain or a full grain, and then maybe this split from the middle was coated with this texture and pattern to make this type of leather. And so in this case, if you're looking for something like this, it is great, and it'll work very well for you. So just the fact that it's split does not mean that it's bad. It depends on what that split is used for. Another brief example is patent leather. It's essentially split leather where they've applied this patent leather surface to it, and so you've got a quality leather underneath, and then the unique characteristics that are desirable in this case of the patent leather surface. So some split can be really bad if it's tanned poorly, coated poorly, and basically just covering up a mess of a hide, while some split can be great, if it's done intentionally and to create something unique that can be beneficial for certain crafting applications. So that one's a maybe. And then lastly, anything called leather is leather. That is a big false. So often, we've got our genuine leathers. There are also a million things out there that are called leather. We have faux leathers. We even have other plant-based materials that are used to make leather. For example, here is a cactus leather, and it's actually using fibers from the cactus that are put on a fabric type backing, and it creates this simulated leather surface. And so, while natural leathers have their look and feel, we've also got these other materials that aren't really leather, but they look and feel kind of like leather, and so they call them leather. Can that be confusing? Absolutely, because when you want to buy leather, you want it to be leather. That said, is everything that is a different material bad? Not at all. This could be great for certain applications and a lot of really cool things. So some of these fiber-based materials are phenomenal. It's just, are they leather? No, they're not. Leather is leather, and so not everything called leather is leather. That said, do check some of these out. They can be amazing. And obviously for leather projects, leather is going to be phenomenal on its own, and all that. So those are our 5 myths busted. If you've got more that you want to explore, let us know. If you have any questions, of course, share those as well. And wishing you all very well until next time, keep crafting.